Dream. What's good, YouTube? It's your girl Leela, and this is my sister Stephanie. And today we're just gonna talk about what she went through doing foster care, because she's been in the system since she was 6 until she was 16. So obviously we got a lot to talk about. Introduce yourself, Steph.
Hello, I'm Stephanie.
Big intro.
I'm 30, going to be 32 now. So I've been out of the system since I was actually 17.
Oh, my bad.
But from 6 to 17, I did spend time in the foster care system.
You want to talk about how you got put in?
The reasons I was put in was due to my father's girlfriend at the time abusing me and my brother because we were my father's children and not hers. She did end up having 2 children with my father, but had an infant when she got together with my father's, but he did raise her, so technically there are 3 others than me and my brother.
So was it just you and your brother that was taken out of the home? Was any other siblings taken with you?
Unfortunately, they did not remove anybody else but me and my brother because we were the ones being abused, but I felt like everybody should have been taken due to this woman's actions.
Absolutely. And what was the allegations that caused y'all's removal?
Well, we were actually taken from Merrimack Elementary in Hampton off of Andrews Boulevard, and the social workers actually came in and took us because we had gone to school several times with bruises. I had stolen lunches at some points because I was not being fed at home. And they could just see the neglect and abuse that was going on. And my first grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, that was her maiden name, she did get married, who I actually saw later on down in life, but that's not here nor there.
Right.
But she's actually the one who ended up calling because she took the initiative to make a change in my life, basically, because she saw the abuse that was going on while my father was away, mind you. My dad was in the military. He was out to sea. He did not know this was going on because when he was home, she did not treat me this way.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that he was gone and we were alone with her, abuse always happened. There was times, specifically one time I was 5 years old. We lived up in Maryland. I was actually taken to the hospital with a broken collarbone because I had accidentally woke the baby up from a nap getting out of my bed. Mind you, there was plastic on the mattress because I still wet the bed at the time. I was 5. Mm-hmm. And I accidentally woke the baby up, and she got mad and threw me on the ground. And she was probably 6 foot tall, 250, and jumped on my back and ended up breaking my collarbone and told my dad that me and my brother were jumping from bed to bed and that I had fallen and broken my collarbone. And of course he had believed her at the time.
Unacceptable. How long do you think that the abuse went on before CPS finally stepped in and took you and your brother from the home?
Well, they met when I was probably 4, because I do remember going through kindergarten in Maryland again I was 4, turning 5 in kindergarten because my birthday's in September. But I do remember being in Maryland and her living with us. So from 4 to 6, so about 2 years, the abuse was going on.
Okay. And so what happened after you entered foster care? Did you have any visits from your dad or her or maybe your biological mother?
Well, actually, I did have visitation with my dad, and of course my brother. We were in a home together up until a certain point, but we'll get there. And when I was 8 years old, I had probably been through 2, possibly 3 foster homes, if I recall, yes, it was 3 foster homes, before I went back to my dad for a little bit. You know, they gave my dad a chance to bring me back and everything like that. But because of the discipline, not really discipline, because they wouldn't let him discipline me. So I was wilding out, like, didn't care what daddy said. At 8 years old, I had already been through all this stuff. So basically, I was like upset at 8. And I ended up getting removed from my father again for terminating his rights, actually, after that. while he was out to sea, they did not let him make the court date to come and fight for me still because he was out to sea, and they ended up terminating his rights altogether when I was 8 years old.
So your father was in the Navy fighting for our country, but he could not come back and fight for his own children?
No, they didn't give him a chance. They took me and my brother.
What
But
about
kept the other 3 children with her.
unacceptable? What about any of your dad's family? Did they ever try to step up to take you and your brother?
Now, this is where it kind of gets funny at, because at 8 years old, after I was put back into the system and I went over to Smithfield to live, I had actually asked the question on why I was not allowed to go live with my grandparents. And I do remember being told the answer was because she said she would spank me if I was bad, that was why they would not give me to my grandparents, that they would spank me and my brother for discipline, and social services basically told them that they could not have us because of a spanking for discipline, which I think is crazy. But
Okay, so they ruled all your family out. What about your mom?
well, my mom's rights were actually taken when I was 6, and that was because my brother came out and had told the guardian ad litem about us being raped at a young age by my mother's cousin.
And was this Virginia CPS?
This was Virginia CPS that took us, but my mom was actually living in West Virginia between visitation with my mother. We would go in between her and my father until the rape incident had happened, and my father had kind of quit allowing us to go for visitation. And then when CPS got involved, they ended up terminating her rights before my father's rights, due to the rape, which did occur, but it wasn't that she had knowledge of, and they terminated her rights completely. But she did come to court several times for me and my brother.
Did CPS ever try to prosecute the man that raped you and your brother?
Never. But that wasn't the only time we were raped either.
What other time was you raped?
Well, after I was put back into the foster care system, the second time at 8 years old, I had actually went to a foster worker's house to live, who was also a foster parent. Me, my brother, I do recall there being about 2 to 3 other children, along with her 2 older sons who were her biological children. One of those gentlemen did end up raping me in front of my brother, tied to a bed with socks, and tied my brother to the chair and forced him to watch.
I'm sorry.
And later on, I found that the same guy was forcing my brother to perform oral sex on him in the middle of the night. And when we told the people what was going on, because this happened while he was babysitting us. The mother was not there. We were left in his care. He was 16 or 17 at the time, and we were basically called liars, and we were moved to a different home, and nothing was ever done. Ever.
Did you tell your social worker about it?
Yes.
And she didn't press no criminal charges, and she kept other children in the home?
They ended up adopting those other children and had more children enter the home afterwards, and she still remained a CPS worker, and my social worker basically brushed it under the rug because she was a co-worker of hers.
Did this man ever had any other allegations besides you and your brother?
Later on in life, after I had kind of done some research. Now, it was never officially in papers or anything, but through questions asked and whatnot, with a friend of mine who also knew this gentleman, did tell me that they believed there were other allegations of him touching on younger girls, because he was a cheerleading coach.
They cover up pedophiles good, don't they, y'all? Yeah, they do. I guess I have another question. Did your brother make any complaints to the social worker about the abuse that he endured while in the home?
Well, after a certain point, after we were moved
So I take it there was no evidence, no medical evidence. You didn't go for a rape kit.
They
You
never
didn't
came to
talk
do
to
any
a
of that.
detective.
No
Yeah.
nothing.
So they just moved you to another home. Did you live with your brother?
I did live with my brother up until, well, see, he was 7, I was 7, he was 6, because I was in 2nd grade. So this was actually before we went back to my dad's. But the second time we got taken from my dad, when we moved out to Smithfield, we remained together, and I ended up having my brother removed from the house because of the way they treated my brother. I ended up making up a story
No.
about
Before
him.
that, how did they treat your brother?
Like abuse.
Yeah.
They, they did different things, but it wasn't just him that they did it to. We were forced to run around swimming pools in the dead of summertime, laps upon laps upon laps until they were told to come in, and myself too, run around swing sets. We'd have to stand in the corner with our nose touching the corner, and we couldn't move, or you'd have to stand there with your arms out, stand on one leg and switch legs and this. There was a time where the foster dad actually ended up punching my tooth out at nighttime because I had went downstairs for a cup of water in the middle of the night, and I came back up and he was at the top of the stairs and punched me and knocked my tooth out.
Was any criminal charges ever pressed on this man?
Never.
Did your social worker know about it?
Yes.
And she did nothing?
Nothing.
Who was your social worker during this period of time?
Well, at that time, it was Miss Reiniger, but her name done changed. I couldn't even tell you what it is now.
I get you. All their names just changed because they ain't nothing but some sluts up in CPS, but that's just my personal opinion. That doesn't have to reflect on the system, but that's just what I believe. Anyways, so let me see what other questions I got. I did have a lot more, but we are answering them so quick. Okay, did CPS at any given time ever give any other person in your family opportunity to adopt you or your brother?
Well, my brother was adopted at the age of 13 by a family out in Matthews after we had split. And we did kind of have contact still, but I wasn't like I could go see him every day because I lived between Hampton and Newport News.
Mm-hmm. And that's about an hour drive from Hampton to Matthews, and most of the time the social worker don't care
and doesn't want to take you.
Right. It doesn't, and they're being paid. The taxpayers pay their gas for the vehicle. They could have kept their connection with siblings. What's 50 hours what's 50 minutes for a week? 50 minutes a week. That's all we're asking here, and they couldn't even do that.
I went years without seeing my brother.
How long do you think it was?
Well, after we split, there was a time when I was about 12 that we found out we attended the same school. And
that's fantastic.
the guidance counselor actually ended up calling us in there so we could see each other for about an hour. But again, he was in a different home, and he ended up moving shortly after that. So from about 13 to 15, I was not able to see my brother.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, my brother's kind of sensitive because of the things he's been through, because even that one rape wasn't all he went through. He went through another rape in the next house after after I made him move homes because of the way he was being treated. He ended up being raped in the next home by another boy. And it was traumatizing for him. My brother is a very immature man now, and I think it has a lot to do with it is because it's hindered him from being able to move on in life.
Do you think that maybe it's his connection with people is off because of what the foster system made y'all go through?
Definitely. He doesn't really have a lot of friends. Like, he stays to himself. He'd rather game and everything like that. And I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I have friends, don't get me wrong, and I can kind of put up a front, but if I could choose to stay in by myself, sometimes I would. Most of the time I would.
Do you think that CPS foster care benefited your life whatsoever?
No.
Do you think that maybe you've experienced more abuse being in the system?
I think I'd rather deal with the abuse that I had going on originally than the things that occurred in care while I was in there. Honestly, I'd rather get the shit beat out of me than to sit there and let somebody be raped and be called a liar and nothing ever be done and to be frowned upon because you're nothing but a foster child,
Mhm.
and people don't see you as a regular person because you're not with your mom, you're not with your dad, and I didn't have that choice in life. I was not given the option. Do you want to live with mom? Do you want to live with dad? They don't ask 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds those fucking questions, but let me tell you, we have feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that at 6 years old you could have made a decision if you wanted to stay with your dad,
I would have
or
chose to stay with my dad for the rest of my life because when I was 17 years old, I found my biological family through my brother in a letter that he was wrote for my grandmother, who's never moved in the 40 some years that she lived at her house.
that's fantastic.
So I wrote her a letter and they ended up responding. Well, guess what? At 17, social services allowed my grandmother to adopt me.
Did they say why she was now found responsible for you? Like,
But that's something I've always wondered because what made the difference whether I was 8 or whether I was 17? Because you think I have my own decisions that I can make at 17? You don't think I can make my own decisions at 8 years old with living with my grandparents and not missing the years without them? I didn't even get to see my grandfather before he passed away.
and you and your brother would have been together. Y'all wouldn't have
Exactly.
been adopted out.
And I
Y'all would
wouldn't
have
have
been
been
together
raped.
repeatedly, and your brother wouldn't have been raped repeatedly. Do you remember any other type of physical abuse that you endured while you were in the system?
Well, after I was about 13, when, we moved into the house together and everything like that, it was great. Miss Harrell was probably one of the best mother figures I could have had growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that lady saved my life because just the house before, I was going to be adopted in, but I didn't want to. And I ended up acting out and wasn't being who I needed to be as a person because I wasn't happy.
Absolutely. How many times do you think that they prepped you to be adopted?
I was due to be adopted twice,
Hmm.
and I backed out of both of them. I started acting out because it wasn't something I wanted. Every day for my whole life, every night, all I ever prayed for was my dad.
See, and that's what drives me crazy, guys, is that these two families decided that they wanted this precious girl, and then when she started acting bad, they just moved her. That's not something that biological parents would do. We would figure it out. We wouldn't just move you on to whoever down the line.
The
No,
next
we would work
home,
it
here you
out.
go.
Yeah,
Pack up all your
absolutely.
stuff. Here's your
Yeah.
trash
And
bags. You might got one
that's
pack of
what I
luggage.
wanted to ask you as well. When CPS came in and took you, was you allowed to take any of your personal belongings?
That's the only thing I ever had my whole life. And that's one thing that set me off with that family is because I had got grounded and she took all my stuff out of my room and I felt like it was not her stuff to be taken because that is stuff that I carried around my whole life in the trash bags that I had to pack up to move.
Yeah, I remember moving hefty bags as well as a kid. I thought that it was a gag gift one year that they gave us all suitcases. Thought it was kind of fucked up, but it is what it is. I guess what I should say to you now is after you got adopted, how was that? After your grandmother came back into your life, how was that?
It was awesome. I had actually ended up making my brother move back up there. So it was me, my brother, my dad, his new wife, whose name is Stephanie, and they had
That's
been
awesome.
together since 99. And mind you, I was taken in 94. So 5 years later, he meets a really good woman and didn't have his 2 oldest children to enjoy it with.
Did your father ever try to fight for you again after his parental rights was taken?
He was informed that there was nothing he could do.
Hmm. Did he ever talk to a lawyer about it, do you think?
My dad doesn't like to talk about this subject. So
Mhm.
when I ask, he kind of just avoids those
Shuts down.
questions and
Oh, I
shuts down.
understand.
So I think it really messes with him, honestly.
Any parent. I mean, you was his baby girl. That was his baby boy.
I mean, I've seen him cry because we had been taken away from him and he was not given a proper chance to fight for us.
When you was in foster care, did you ever go to respite homes, or was you ever in respite?
I had been to some respite homes. Now, the only respite homes that I had been to was the first foster family that was supposed to adopt me when I was about 11 had ended up deciding to become missionaries, and they wanted to go to Zimbabwe. And it kind of scared me. I ain't gonna lie. Like I said, I always wanted my daddy. So for me to move out of the country, I don't think that I was physically ready to do that because I was scared I might not ever see my dad again.
Absolutely.
And while they had to go to class down in Texas, they had the Dowdies come and watch us. So I kind of think that's like respite. And then when I left them, I had asked to go actually live with the people that had been babysitting us because I thought the grass might be greener, and I ain't gonna lie, you know.
Absolutely.
I saw the opportunity to be the only child because she wasn't able to have children, and it's not that I was trying to be conniving or selfish, but I felt like if I was the only child, then nothing would happen.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
You went through enough.
And like I said, got into it because I got grounded and she took my stuff, and I ended up making the decision not to be adopted by them. And after that incident, I went into respite at Miss Harrell's house the first time, and then ended up going back to the home, and the decision was made that I was going to go stay at Miss Harrell's house until I aged out of the foster care system.
Okay, but
because if not, my only other option would have been to be sent in the woods to some type of program that's out there to try to teach you
in the fucking woods.
Well, you can't really ask Miss Rose.
No, I believe you. I remember y'all talking about this story.
I mean, they were gonna go send me to some disciplinary place if Miss Harrell was not able to straighten me out.
So like a girl's home.
Not basically a girl's home. Like, you had to go out there and do physical labor. You had to, like, build your own house or something like that. Like, Miss Harrell was
This ain't survival, motherfucker.
That's
What y'all got foster kids doing? Building their own shitters? What the fuck?
I did not say that.
Okay, all right. So at any time, did social services try to give you any type of counseling or maybe medication for the abuse that you went through?
Probably a lot of the time I was in there, which I kind of thought it was a joke. They get paid to listen to you, but it never fixes anything, honestly. And I was actually put on Ritalin and Klonopin when I was 8 years old because this lady had all the kids on it.
Klonopin, goddamn.
That's a sleeping aid.
What they doing with that shit?
Well, I wonder why I couldn't sleep at night. All the terrifying stuff that happened to you, you gotta sleep with one eye open. Even at 8 years old.
They put everybody on sleeping medicine so they can rape your ass at night. That's what the fuck they do.
They not. Stop being extra.
I ain't trying to be extra, but y'all know that they got my children on medicine, and I don't like the shit. Not at all. Not at all. So, what about your future wise? Do you think that if you would have lived with your biological family, that you would have had more privileges than being in foster care?
I think my life would have been a lot better.
Absolutely.
I mean, but they say God, has things happen for a reason and this and that, but
God don't set a child up to be abused and raped.
Exactly. He doesn't allow.
That's free will, baby.
Exactly. And I feel like if I would have been able to at least stay with my dad, and I would have been fine.
If you could say anything to the lady, the Fortunes, is it them?
Well, yeah, that's their last name. I'm trying to keep people's names out of this, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we mentioned it during this video. But if you could say something to her now that you're grown, what would you say?
That she was dead wrong. that she knew what me and my brother were going through by her biological son.
You should have got your son help, lady.
And
straight up, he should have went to jail, and he should have did the procedures of getting help, because he's a kitty fucker.
Because she was a foster worker, I felt like they just swept it under the rug and kept it moving with me and my brother, because they didn't want to have to go through all the legalities with it, because they would have had to investigate her, investigate her son, and this,
take
and
all the
that.
kids out the house. Yep.
So,
So you think because she was a foster care worker, she got special privileges, huh?
basically.
So they just, can fuck up little kids' lives and then just sweep it under the rug, and then this pedophile can become a cheerleading coach. Like, this is what's going on. But instead of cheerleading coaches, my kids' foster dad is a minister at a fucking church. So yeah, they keep the pedophiles locked up in the church for sure.
Oh yeah, and he acts like he's a church man, so.
He acts, exactly. He smokes Newports and drinks outside of his balcony. We can all act a certain way. But, so let's talk about my case a little bit, since we talked about you. I'll talk about my case when I'm speaking about the boys. How do you feel that they did us, especially since you were in the hospital when Joanne Johnson had labeled you my fictive kin sister, and for you to take custody while this investigation was going on of my boys?
I mean, I stepped up and I took them. Granted, they had Valentino at CHKD for the next couple days. After that, the very next day, I had just finished making dinner for the boys, and I had heard my dogs in the front barking at the door, and I looked and I could kind of see my screen door open, so they hadn't knocked yet. And I put my dogs up because I had company, and all of a sudden, there's 4 CPS workers there telling me that they're here to take the boys. And I'm like, for what? The ladies already came over at the house and said that the house was fine for them to be in and all this other stuff. So I never understood why they came and took them from me.
So did they ever know?
Mind you, I helped raise these boys.
Did they ever call you to tell you, hey, we're coming to take the kids? Can
never
you pack
gave me
up
a
some
heads
stuff?
up, never said anything. I asked them if the boys could sit there and eat their dinner, and the lady told me, better pack it up.
Do you remember anybody's name?
No. They never told me their names.
Yeah, that's cool. And
they never brought me any paperwork stating why they were taking them.
So no court order. There was no court
paper, no nothing. They just came in and took them from me and told me that it's best I don't make a scene. That way the kids don't start crying. Mind you, I'm bawling that they're taking these babies, and now my babies start bawling, and they're telling me that I need to relax because I'm causing a scene and the kids don't need to be upset. Well, what do you want me to be?
And social services then call me. You want to know what happened? Me and my man was taking a drive because me and my sister switched vehicles, and I noticed 3 sets of twins, and something hit my gut and was like, something's not right. So I called my sister, and she is just hysterical, and she's like, they're taking them. So what went on from there?
I mean, I went to all the court with you. Granted, the whole time I'm sitting there with the arguments in my head, like, this ain't right, they're lying here, this and that, and I felt like your lawyer should have been doing a little bit better. And honestly,
see, my lawyer should have spoke up, and yeah, from the get we were lied
to, because we were under the impression that they were coming home. That's what we had been told several times, and she had been doing everything she needed to do, crossed everything off, and they're like, good job, Leela, you're doing great, you're gonna get your kids back. And then all of a sudden it flips because you did everything that you had to do, and now they're trying to divide you and Juan. Mind you, Juan is a great dad.
Yeah.
Juan's never abused the kids in front of me. He's never hit my sister in front of me or any of that. And my boys would tell me if Juan was crazy and hitting them. Trust me, me and my nephews had a bond like no other, because if it weren't Mom, it was Titi.
Yeah,
and they always knew that I was going to be there for them. So I know how to
boil grits. I know how to boil grits. Okay.
I taught my nephews how to cook roast for the first time. You know what I'm saying? But no.
Yeah.
The way they try to portray Juan to be a monster, he wasn't a monster. You know, kids need discipline in their lives, whether they're being picked up and placed outside because everybody's trying to leave. And you know, what are you supposed to do as a parent? You're supposed to let a 12-year-old walk all over you and not listen and everything like that. Because I remember growing up at 30-some, now I'm 30, almost 32. I remember back in the day, it was just fine for you to spank your child as long as you didn't leave a bruise. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, that's still the rules to this day.
It is. I took fucking 4 parenting classes.
So, I'm not understanding the fine line of discipline here because I'm not going to let a 12-year-old walk over me. Because just that same day, you had to call me because Mikkel got an attitude and had ran off, and I was on my way to the school carnival with you, and I had to talk to him about it.
It was the same day.
Same day all that happened.
Yeah.
And I had to talk to him about it. Me and him had probably about a 20-minute conversation about his actions.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have to lay a hand on him. I didn't have to do any of that because he knows. You're not going to act like that with me.
Right.
I taught these boys how to be respectful, how to be smart, how to use their brain, and to do as they're told without having to beat them.
Absolutely.
And they learn. Now, for them to sit here and try to divide a mother and a father, last time I checked, we're out here scolding people for not being daddies. Now, you going to try to stop this man from being a good daddy? Even the 4 boys that he didn't birth or give, have his DNA, but he stepped up because the other daddies didn't want to?
Absolutely.
He was a great dad to all 7 of them children. And they criticized this man because of something he was born with. Something that he can control with medication, but due to them, had failed on their part because they promised to help him with that. They promised to help him get on Medicaid, to pay for his medications, to make him calm in their eyes. But let me tell you, somebody takes my kids, I'm going to be pissed. And I felt like they did take my kids. I was with my nephews every weekend. And guess what? I'm mad. I haven't even been able to see them. And what did I do? But love them.
She's going nuts. Absolutely, man. And I feel like the Guardian of Lighten should have never said that she would rather me freebase crack cocaine.
That's what she told to her in court. She told my sister in court under oath that she'd rather my sister freebase cocaine in front of the children than to let Juan be a dad. What Guardian of Lighten says that?
And she's never had a conversation with Juan.
Never even spoke to Juan on a one-on-one basis.
Nothing.
Ever.
Not during
Can't even understand where this man was coming from after having his children taken from him and then being told, you can't be their father. Just like they told my daddy that he couldn't be a father.
And when the kids came to the first visitation, they had head lice. They had
bruises.
Black fingernails.
And trust me, I went to more than one visitation with her because at first it was once a week.
Yeah, and I was starting to get upset.
And I won't always to make it, but every time I went, there was a bruise on each of the twins in Valentino.
Yeah, every time.
And we'd make a scene about it. Well, not even a scene. We'd bring it to their attention.
After the visit.
And they'd be like, oh, Miss Whiteford, that's not your concern at this moment.
That's not your problem. That's not your concern. We certified these people to take care of your children. That's the type of stuff that they would tell me. Sorry, my sister has the dogs. That's Endo. That dog has cried with me, y'all. I have cried in the front seat of my sister's vehicle, and that dog has cried with me because she misses the kids too. So you hear her going crazy. That's her wanting to speak up. That's her wanting to speak, wanting the kids to be here.
She misses the kids.
Yeah, and the kids loved her. They've known her.
She's 7 years old.
Just about their whole life. Yeah, exactly.
When she was a year old.
And it's sad because even though my children got bit by another dog, they've always loved her.
And they still ended up loving our Endo and the 3 puppies that I kept at the time.
I mean, absolutely, because my kids, it was no hard feelings after that. You understand? But that's when the whole mess started with social services. Is the
Because
dog
my
bite?
boss had been fired and retaliated against me and decided to call social services on me and my sister and
Absolutely.
tried to lie to them and tell them that we was doing stuff that we wasn't doing and about the dog bite because I had confided in them about how upset I was that the dog had bit my nephew.
Anybody would be upset.
I
Two
didn't
kids getting
think it was
bit,
going to be used against us because don't you think if the hospital thought it was bad enough, they would have called CPS?
and they didn't.
But they didn't.
CPS actually came like a month or so after the
A
dog
month
bite.
afterwards because
Yeah.
it happened September 6th of
Yeah.
2015
It was like the first day of school.
and he got fired in October of 2015.
Absolutely. So it was like a month later. Treatment had already started with the kids, and like I mentioned in one video, the CPS worker advised me that she can excuse one dog bite but not two. So that's how I got charged with child neglect, and then on top of everything, they kept trying to use that against me in the court of law, and I felt like it was kind of double jeopardy because I was already charged.
We had
with
already been found not at fault in Newport News. She moved to Hampton
They
out
closed
of
my
my
case.
house in November of 2015 and moved to Hampton and they had already closed the case. Well, how is it that in May of 2016 Hampton decides they can just reopen that? Because if I'm not mistaken, from November to May, that's 6 months of a case being closed.
So let me back you up. December is when social services knocked on my door and just said that we're doing a wellness checkup, and from that point on they were knocking on my door whenever they wanted, once a month. And that's the truth. Whenever they wanted, because I didn't want to fill out paperwork about social services, whatever the fuck they wanted at the time. They didn't even give me anything specific. And even in my big red book, there's nothing of specific goals in mind that CPS wanted me to do because I was already doing the damn thing.
Exactly.
By January, I had already signed up to take spring classes, but I was already working at 7-Eleven. I was already doing the things that a mother needs to do to make her life better.
On top of getting the kids ready for school in the morning and making sure everybody was taken care of.
Yeah, to be
going
successful.
to school, going to work. I mean, come on now. She's a mom of 7 boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I needed Juan's help, and I do got paperwork of where social services, CPS, that was coming to my house refused to help me, but told me to go through the VIEW program so I could get child care assistance for my children.
But as soon as the kids were put into foster care, didn't the foster parents get that money for them to go to daycare?
Yeah, like and it's kind of crazy because I do my homework and I try to do it well. So I found out that the foster care worker, actually ran her own daycare, but yet she had my 3 children put in daycare, and then at several times my twins got kicked out of daycare.
Yeah.
My one twin and his other 2 brothers were going to 2 separate daycares. And then when my children did eventually come home, they were cussing like a freight train. And that wasn't because of me, because I only saw my kids for
Once a
one
week.
week for 50 minutes. So obviously that was the foster parents doing. And that's just a little bit. Like, y'all just don't understand. Like, they kept trying to say, see through the trees and you will get what you want. You keep on going through these hoops or whatever.
Oh, you're going to get them back and all this other stuff. They lied to her.
And I never got them back.
I was there the whole time.
Yeah. And
anybody who tries to divide a mother and a father who are actually taking very good care of their kids should be ashamed of themselves, because it's just a money scam to them. Oh, we need these many kids in foster care so that they can get paid. Why wasn't I ever allowed to go back home? Because I believe at 13 you should be allowed to make their own decisions in court on if you want to go back home. So if you're not adopted by 13, why are you not going back to court to see if you can go back to your parents?
Right. And I feel like that we spend so much money keeping these children out of homes. If we put half of that money
back into the homes to keep the kids in the homes,
then I bet we would have a better successful rating.
Let's not forget, they said in court that they somehow lost your Section 8 paperwork in 2007.
Yeah.
But never drew up another one to help my sister out.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
ever. I mean,
There was a time we lived in a hotel in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, for about 5 months.
yeah.
And they still hadn't helped my sister out, but for probably, one or two times by paying for a week's stay in the hotel.
Yeah.
Why not try to get her set up? Because I know people for a fact that have walked into social services and been handed a Section 8 voucher. And I know this for a fact.
I do too. Or we know people that walked into social services and they've gotten 6 months of their rent paid or deposit or something.
Matter of fact, I know they pay for car repairs. They pay for all types of stuff.
And nobody had the funding to help me out. And I was raising 7 children
by herself since they wanted to keep Juan out the picture.
And then they started talking about my other baby daddies in court.
And they hadn't even been there, which should have been irrelevant. The one who had been in jail for something that doesn't even involve child neglect, child abuse, they acted like he couldn't be a dad because of all the tattoos he had. Absolutely. You don't know that man. You're judging him.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked to him? Have you seen where his head was at? No.
No, they didn't.
Not one time. Now, the first baby daddy, I could care less
they
about.
They try to give the kids to him. That's the fucked up thing.
And he didn't want them.
And he's in California. And they're like, if you come here and get your kids, that you can have them. And it's all like, what?
And he didn't come to get them. Period.
Or who even?
But you have Ron fighting to be a dad.
I hate that.
And they're refusing this man. Refuse this man
to work with him because
they had every excuse. They lost his ID, his medication.
Yeah,
they refused to help get him on Medicaid to help pay for the medication because the medication that he's supposed to be taking does cost quite a bit of money.
It does.
And the immigration, since they wanted that straight, they told him that they were going to help pay for that, and they never did because of seeing the paperwork my damn self.
Yeah, I showed it in my last video actually, but it's just fucked up. Like CPS can't just keep on ruining people's lives.
They always want to ruin people's lives. It don't make no damn sense.
I just want to say this, that so much was taken from me and my brother.
And me.
Yeah, and you as well. But my brother has passed on now. So all that time that we could have spent as
siblings in the same house,
we weren't allowed to. And that's nor here than there. But my children should be together.
But now our boys are in 2 different homes. And I got Sebastian crying because he only gets to see his brothers once a week.
Yeah, and that's devastating.
Once a week. That's it. That's all my boys get together. When they was in a loving home just fine for 24/7?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And now they can't even be in the same house? Any parent in their right mind, if you have siblings of 7, you would try your best to take care of them all. Don't just pick and choose who you want. That's a family.
Yeah.
We're not something to be picked and choosed.
Yeah.
We are humans. Even as children, we had feelings.
And I hate to say it, but you get 10 grand every time you adopt a child.
10 grand. And guess what? You get $696 for every child you got in your house for the month until they are adopted.
I'm pretty sure it's gone up since we've been kids because the, economy has gone up.
Oh, but don't forget, if you're labeled a bad kid, you kind of get more money.
Oh, and if you get on medication, you get more money.
More money for medication too.
Yeah, because you're aiding a child.
Yeah.
And let's not even talk about the the report that they have on these children. Like, what if my children are diagnosed with some type of mental health issue?
Yeah, but they got the twinno on something that he's not even supposed to be taking unless you're an adult. Let's be serious. You got 2 twins and possibly the baby about to be taking some schizophrenic medication at 5 and 4 years old, and it's supposed to be somebody that's what, 15, 16 or older? Seroquel? Or no, what is it?
And it starts with a Q. And it also, it began like back in January, back in December, I got this letter from social services.
Because they mailed her the paperwork.
They mailed me the paperwork, assholes. We're only human, right? It's funny that y'all get to be human, but I'm not allowed to be
human.
See, and
y'all so quick to judge her and think that she's psycho. But put yourself in her shoes. You're a mom of 7 boys, and you've done everything for the last 11 years that you're supposed to, because that's how old the oldest was 11.
Yeah.
did everything that you're supposed to for the last 11 years being a mom to 7 kids, and all of a sudden you're not allowed to have them because of what? Because somebody told you they'd rather you freebase cocaine than to let Juan be a father? Than to let a loving man take care of his children? Anybody in their right mind who has their kids stripped from them is going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Is going to be angry, especially when they see bruises on their children at the visitations.
All right.
You can't help a man going off because he sees the neglect that's going on with his children or the abuse that's going on with his children.
Absolutely.
And it's not even him doing it.
Right. And I left Juan. Like, I really did.
They made him leave. We bought him a ticket and put him on the bus because that's what they wanted. And they still did not work with her.
They didn't.
We put him on a bus May 5th, and we didn't have court until August. Tell me one time them social workers called to try and work with you.
Nothing.
Not once?
One time. Nope.
Not once. Did the visitation ever go up or
Nope.
anything?
Nope.
Never.
They actually took
And then
my
they
visitation.
actually ended up stopping the visitation in July.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
A
crazy.
month before court.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was really bad. I just hated it.
But y'all so quick to judge her and tell her that she crazy and call the law on her and all this other stuff when she's not even making
left
threats.
Juan, and it's crazy because I left Juan because when my other baby daddy got out of jail, we kind of got back together because he's always loved my kids too. So like we were trying to work things out as a couple to try to get the children back, but he wasn't even allowed to get the kids. Like at all. So
Period.
when that fell through,
And he did his paperwork, his paperwork got signed off, everything.
Well, eventually
Because then he had a separate visitation because they split y'all up. So he had one visitation day, you had another visitation day, and they only allowed him to see the 3 kids that were his and not all 7.
Yep. Because at first we had all signed papers for the children to come back to me and Juan, but when they
there in the black and white,
right, and when they decided that they didn't want to fucking deal with him, or this was the easy tactic to get the children.
Because he has an attitude because y'all came in and took his fucking kids.
Yeah, so they pretty much just blamed me for it, I guess.
Held it against you because there's a man who's grieving and upset and all this other stuff, and on top of that of his schizophrenic behavior, not even behavior because he's a good guy. It's not really like it comes out all
he's just labeled that.
It's labeled that because he's been born with it, and they use it against him and try to make it seem like he's some type of monster that he's not.
But he's never been hospitalized or criminalized.
Never been hospitalized.
For,
never been criminalized.
Hurting himself or others. And that's the main point here is that Juan has 2 other children actually
that are older than all the boys.
Yeah, and they're actually in their 20s. And he was with them for a significant amount of time when they were younger, and none of this occurred.
Not once did he have child.
He was with his daughter until she was like 15,
just let me say this: accidents happen. It's not like Juan went out and was like, "Let me drown the baby."
Yeah,
he stepped out, which probably wasn't the smartest decision. Which we learned from. Trust and believe, we learned from it.
Oh, if I could kill somebody.
No.
It might be him. It might be. I'm not trying to say it would be him, but it might be him because this shit was crazy.
But let's not even say that because it was an accident.
It was an accident,
and he got criticized for an accident that we actually ended up fixing because you brought the baby back to life.
Yeah. Before
the ambulance or anybody ever called.
And
because you told Mikhail to run and call the 911, and he told the 911 that the baby was back alive.
Yeah, because he was already spitting the water and shit. So my son saw that.
And that's enough trauma as a brother to see that happen to your baby brother. But don't you think that this man was really abusive or anything like that? There would have been other charges brought up on him. Let's be real.
If he was this crazy person, as long as it took the paramedics to get to the house, he could have killed us all.
Killed them all.
All of us. Because let me tell you, I'd already...
Let's be real. We know how long it takes an ambulance and a fire truck and all this other stuff to come to the house. Take about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. That would have been enough time to get us off. And it won't like that. But
let's be honest. We know it was a mistake. you know, and they went through all the hoops and
Right.
stuff that they were supposed to. They were told that these kids was coming back home, but then when they saw that they was doing everything they needed to, they had to throw something else in there.
And I'm not a crackhead.
Juan can't be there because she doesn't do drugs. I don't do drugs. Juan don't do drugs. So what else can they hold against you?
We got the hair follicle test to prove it. And how much are those hair follicle tests? They could keep on paying for hair follicle tests, which is like $300 a pop.
Because at the time I had a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah.
My man's in the military.
Navy.
I work. You know, I had plenty of opportunity to take care of them until all this brushed over. But do you think they gave me the opportunity to have my nephews in a house that was closest to home than anything they had ever known? But no, they split them up into 2 houses and never told me why me and him couldn't have them. And if I'm not
or
mistaken,
anybody else,
Miss Susan tried,
and she's a foster parent.
Couldn't do it. The one lady, you know, we had several school teachers,
30 years.
Several school teachers write letters on how phenomenal of a person
my homegirl makes over $33 an hour, and they denied her to take the kids.
Yep, denied them for what? Why do you want to keep them so bad? We did everything you told us to do.
I don't have no parents. I don't have no family members.
I mean, but let's
y'all know that it's only my fictive kin that the kids could go to.
And they knew it. They knew that her mom died when she was 2 months old, y'all. Her mom died. She might not have told y'all this.
Oh,
but
I did.
But yes. And then her dad at 8.
Yeah, so I mean.
So they knew she had nobody. They know her brother was murdered when he was 26 years old.
Yeah.
They knew her other brother had a life of his own.
I mean, his shit is fucked up. The kids couldn't go there anyways.
Exactly. That's why I said a life of his own.
So, it is what it is, and it doesn't matter because.
I was the only thing they knew.
It was nobody's responsibility to raise these children.
But because we weren't born blood related, I couldn't take them. That's the only excuse you ever gave me because I called and left messages. I called and asked why.
Several of my foster sisters called and was furious. Even my foster mom.
Yeah, because Claudia called to try to take at least some of them, and I was going to try to take the other ones. Mm-hmm. That way we could keep them in somewhat home. I've known her since I was 13. I'm the closest thing she got to anything that's real.
Absolutely. Even my foster mom couldn't understand why they came in and took all the children. And she'd been doing foster care for over 20-something years with Hampton Social Services. She even went to the
worker and said, But actually, didn't they tell you, had you not signed that paperwork, they couldn't have came in and taken them?
What, from the hospital?
Yeah.
Well, she made me sign the paperwork from the hospital.
Because she scared you into it. Let's be honest.
Joanne, when your baby just drowns and then here comes a CPS worker, like, arguing with you, making you, I mean, you was there. Miss Susan was there. She was all like, if you sign this, then everything will be okay. Then you will just work with the department until your children are able to return home.
Yeah. And they came to my house the next day and looked at my house and went upstairs and all this other stuff and said it was fine.
Yeah.
Then the next day they came in and took them.
Yeah.
Next day they came in and took them. They told me this was my stipulations if I had the kids, okay? I was not allowed to be around her at the time until the department and her had got situated and everything was to go to there, that I was not supposed to have any contact with her and all this other stuff.
Right.
But somehow within a day's period, it all changed. And I was never told why.
Me either. I mean, they didn't even call me to tell me that they were going to her house to take the children. And then after they took the kids, I didn't even see the kids for 18 days. 18 days of not seeing my babies.
And now it's been almost 2 years since we've seen them.
And which is really fucked up is because they were like, does your baby only drink milk? So the whole 18 days they were feeding my fucking 8-month-old baby just milk. I fed that motherfucker everything under the sun. What you mean? No matter what, I fed him. And you're like, oh, the baby won't stop crying. He won't stop crying because he's fucking starving.
He's hungry.
Like, not to mention...
And ain't nobody gonna love you like your mama love you.
Not to mention the headlights and shit that the kids came back to the first visitation
had to shave their heads.
Oh, man.
They demanded my sister shave these babies' heads because they needed a haircut.
Oh.
They were 2 at the time, and we told them that we didn't want to cut it. They forced my sister to shave her babies' heads at the visitation. Right hand of God.
Yeah. They also forced circumcisions on my twins.
On the twins at 3 years old.
Yeah. They spent their whole life. You can even see that
And they didn't want to clean them. They came back infected with their circumcision.
It was really nasty. I felt so terrible for these kids, like so bad. Like, and I didn't want to sign it. And you know what Miss Dozier said to me? If you don't sign it, I'm gonna go above you, have my supervisor sign it, and you won't be here during it. You won't be allowed to see your child after surgery. So I signed the paperwork so I could be with my child.
Threatening.
Yeah. So it's like from one fucked up thing to the next.
So quick to choose the department side, right?
And y'all
don't know how crooked these people are. Because let me tell you, the same people that took me from my parents
are the
same people that's running the department to this damn fucking day.
Same motherfuckers.
And they know the shit that fucking happened to me.
Yeah.
They know it. They know it.
Yeah. And it's fucked up. So who's to say that my child or my children ain't going to come back with these type of stories?
Same shit. How do we know?
I don't know.
I haven't seen them. Can't even get a letter once a week. Nothing. We got to beg these people just for pictures.
And then, you know, the social worker told me that if the adoption goes through, then I won't be getting anything.
Oh, but let's be real, because legal aid told you in 2020 that you could refile for your kids, but when you asked the department, they told you that you couldn't.
Yeah, and they told me that it
just
had to
like
be
they told my daddy that he couldn't refile for me.
Yeah.
But it's by law, you have 2 years after the conviction to file as long as the adoption is not done.
Absolutely. Because foster care is not completing their goal. Their whole goal is adoption, is to adopt these kids out. Because the judge...
The state's got so much money to fund all this shit, right?
Don't want anyone to linger in the system.
Y'all taxpayers is just paying for it.
But what happens is children like me who get put in the system at 13 and never get out of the system.
At 13, who puts their baby in foster care at 13?
And never get adopted. So I spent until I was 13.
But you're just labeled a foster kid. Let me tell you. No,
I was labeled being a foster ward of the state, my nigga. Ward of the state. Nobody wanted my ass.
You're just a foster kid. Your parents don't love you. You don't know how hard that hurt me.
It was really bad.
Because I knew my daddy loved me. I knew my daddy loved me, but his fucking girlfriend was a bitch.
And that's what drives me crazy is that my children got to go to school, and I ain't racist or nothing because it's all good. My foster mom was black, but ain't you supposed to make it at home as possible? Ain't you supposed to make it at home as possible? Like seriously though, like what the fuck, home. Man?
And I was the closest thing to home.
And it's crazy.
And baby should be with me.
The baby,
with my sister.
The baby should fucking be home because I ain't do nothing wrong.
I'm saying if they're not gonna let you have them, they should at least be with me.
I understand, but if I believe that if you have your parental rights taken, that you should go to jail. It should be.
But crackheads and all these other junkies out here can keep having babies, and these babies keep being born hooked on freaking drugs, and they don't do anything about it.
What? Because they got fucking government agency methadone clinics and they can just go over there for a quick
The government can feed you heroin and it be okay, but if you're out here doing
synthetic heroin,
then you're a junkie. You're a fucking
make no
joke.
Fucking sense to me.
You're a fucking joke. And for you to tell my sister you'd rather her be a fucking drug addict, freebasing cocaine in front of the children, you are dead wrong. Dead wrong.
That's fucked
because
up.
That's not what a mother does. We showed our children love and passion, and we taught them the way of life.
Absolutely.
And you robbed them from that to the point that now they don't even miss us.
Well, we don't know that. That's just hearsay. I believe that they do miss us, man. I believe that people like to feed shit in your head. That's why I be popping off half the time. But I believe my babies do miss me. All of them. And
they'll be back. Everybody turns 18, sweetheart, because let me tell you, if I was able to go back home at 17, these boys can come back at that age.
Yeah, but why does it take that? I have to wait until my children are grown for them to come back. I want to see them.
But that's why in January, Mikkel will be 13 and he will 14. Be able to. Oh yes, 14. Excuse me. He will be 14 and will be able to testify
long time,
in court.
My king. I'm sorry. It's terrible.
And will be able to testify in court whether he wants to be with his mom. But let's not forget the lies that they've been fed that you were against the law.
Yeah, they try to tell my kids that I committed a crime. That's why they're not coming home. And I'm just trying to figure out
What crime did she commit
what did
besides
I
love her
do.
children? She passed everything you told her to. Hell, the kids were home and you came back and took them
Yeah,
for
because
nothing because a dad wanted to be a dad. Because a dad wanted to be a dad and missed his kids.
he
That's
lived
why you
across
took
the street
them.
from me. This dude lives
Lived
across
across the street and it was a supervised visit with me there and her.
the street.
Sorry, I'm mad. But it
We
don't
can't
make
get
no
too
damn
mad or the
sense.
police gonna be knocking on the door.
Oh, we ain't making threats. It's okay.
Shit, it's just fucked up, man. Like,
You
yeah,
don't understand the pain and the hurt that you go through every day, not having something that you woke up to grateful for,
yeah.
thankful for. I've lost 2 of my children. I've had 2 miscarriages. Them boys were the closest thing I had to my own kids.
Mm.
My own kids.
They loved you like a good stepdaddy. They'd even call her mom sometimes. That shit
They'd
used to
slip
just
up and be
piss
like,
me off,
Mom,
man.
I mean, Titi.
It used to piss me off, but now looking back at it, I'd rather them call both of us mom than any of them fucking ratchet ass bitches out there.
You know how many I went through 15 foster homes.
Mm.
And each time I had to call a different person mom.
Fuck that.
Each time.
Mm-mm. I hope
Them
my children
ladies
ain't
don't
call
like
nobody
being
mom.
called by their biological names.
And what if they change my kids' name? That's
And I don't feel
my
like that's
fucking
right.
name.
I feel like you should not be able to rename a child who was given a name by a mother that loved them.
Yeah. I mean, if it's some ratchet ass bitch, sure enough, change their child's name. First, last, middle, whoever. But for you to change my name and everybody in the courtroom, all the lawyers came to me and said, Miss Whiteford, I'm so sorry because you're the one that deserved your children.
But wait, didn't your social worker quit because of this case?
Yeah.
Because she knew that they fucked you?
Yeah.
Did she not quit? Because if I'm not mistaken, 3 fucking people quit because of this fucking case.
Yeah. Even Nikki Dancing that was doing my visitation, she quit TLC and moved to CSB because she felt that it was fucked up. I did everything that they asked me to do. And
she was here for 5-hour visits.
Yeah.
At a time.
Yeah.
So since Juan was there all those times, why can't she testify to that?
Yeah.
She was supposed to be there.
Yeah. Why
wasn't she on the stand? And if I'm not mistaken, they had Calandra Cook speaking at circuit court because Miss Dozier had already quit.
Mm-hmm.
But any person in their right mind would have been like, I want to speak to the social worker that was in charge of the case. I could care less what you have to say, honestly, because your word don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Nothing. You were not the caseworker.
They should have had her on stand, but they didn't.
They should have had everybody from the the FAP meetings.
Mm-hmm.
All of them should have been able to testify. What type of person is this woman? But no, you went on one lady's word.
They all love me at FAP. Don't even get it twisted. I knew most of those people are the same people from when I was a kid.
Exactly.
So they remember my personality. And at first they were like, oh shit. And then when I started again talking in there, they're like, Miss Whiteford, it is a pleasure working with you. But
she's a bad mom, right? Everybody loved working with her. That's why all these people quit over this case because they knew they was fucking my sister.
Yeah.
And if you think I'm bullshitting, fucking call him your damn self.
Look them up. Let's talk about Melanie Galloway. I cried in her fucking office. And then a couple of weeks after that, my attorney told me that
she quit.
That she moved to CSB. And I wonder why. She told me, what'd she say?
Miss Dozier cried to you because of this.
She did.
She says, I am so sorry that this happened to you, that they did this to you. It was not supposed to go this way.
Yeah, because she was also a former foster child up in New York. So she
knew the game.
Yeah.
She knew the game.
Yeah, I don't want to throw her personal business out there too much, but yeah, she was a foster child. But
all these people try to make you seem like you're a bad person. Y'all don't know her for shit.
Yeah.
Nothing. She is a good person. And any person that had this happen to them, what would you do?
Really?
What would you do? Because if you don't know, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Nobody wakes up saying, well, some
and if you do know, then write it down below because we'd like to know what would you do?
Yeah.
What would you do? Honestly.
They fucked up, yo. They don't know because This ain't their life.
The shit is a fucking game to them. And it's not a fucking game to parents and aunties and whatever else that love these fucking boys. This shit is not a game to us. This is not something that you play with. These are people's lives.
Yeah, what if
my
I
whole
died?
life was fucked up because of the foster care system.
Right.
And you expect me to sit here and believe the shit ain't changed? Come on now, it's the same people running this shit.
Same people running the shit show.
Same people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. After I was raped,
But they
my
in
social
charge
worker
now.
fucking quit.
Yeah, fuck that, dude.
Quit because they knew they weren't going to do shit to them. Let's be real. People quit because they know the system is fucking people.
Yeah.
And ain't shit we can do about it. Why? Because we was born poor in the foster care system, and they know, oh, they don't have shit. We can just come and dangle this shit in their face, make them jump through fucking hoops, and then tell them they ain't getting shit.
But give other
And
people
supposed to think
Section
it's
8.
okay.
But give other people Section 8. Pick and choose. Let's
be real. We all want our fathers in our lives. Let's be real. Boys
we
need
do.
their dads.
They do.
Because moms can't do everything that boys can be taught by their father. Granted, I was great.
Mm-hmm.
I caught crab with strings and chicken.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, my boys had a great time.
Yeah.
And now what are they doing? What are they doing?
Getting
Playing games, getting hefty. Let's be real.
Not something that I would want for them, because I'd want them playing outside in the dirt, making mud pies.
We was always outside, campfires. We had a fire almost every night in the summertime.
Yeah,
We'd
bonfires
pitch
in the winter, yeah.
Sleep out in the backyard.
Yep, let them look at the stars.
Let's be real. You act like they was in a bad home. They wasn't.
Karaoke. I cook breakfast for them every morning, dinner
Well
every
taken
night.
care of. Well taken care of.
Like, I don't
Well
understand.
taken care of. And y'all supposed to act like we just supposed to sit here and be like, well, the kids are gone. What are we? Let's just go off and do whatever. No. This shit takes a whole chunk out of your fucking life.
Yeah.
It's like there's a void that's missing. What are we supposed to do to fill it? All we wanted to do was be a mom and an aunt and a dad. Yeah. Juan's here. I'm not going to let y'all dog that man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let y'all dog her either.
Yeah, fuck that, man.
Because y'all don't know what it was like. Y'all weren't in her shoes.
No.
Y'all weren't with us 24/7. Were you? No. So how can you judge anything? Because the only person that can judge in this goddamn world is God himself. Now put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it, bitch.
Yeah. Are you watching that?
You watching? Are you watching?
Because I got that restraining order awfully fucking fast.
Real fast. 12:30 last night, they tried to knock on your fucking door to serve
I
that
won't
shit.
get that. Fuck the police. What?
There's a weapon involved.
What? No, it's not. NWA, where you at?
NWA. Fuck the police. But seriously, how would you feel? Your brother was maliciously gunned down. Your kids is fucking taken out of your life. You grew up with neither one of your parents as an influence that you really need growing up. And you expect her to be just fine and dandy? You're fucking crazy.
I'm a sunflower. I'm a bed of roses.
I'm a golden starfish.
She likes the sea.
But honestly, jokes aside, like, this isn't a game. It's not. All we wanted to do was be parents. We wanted to raise these boys with love and integrity and truth and wisdom and God.
Yeah.
That's it.
And even though I struggled, I wanted them to see that struggle to show them that I never gave up. And no matter
My boy had a dream at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old. He wanted to be in the military because I was.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed him as hard as you want. You can do it, buddy. Who you think let these boys get great grades? I was a good aunt. I stepped up. If my sister couldn't do it, I was there. Steph, I gotta get dinner and all this other stuff. Juan's helping me. Can you come over and do homework? Sure, I got you. Let's do this. Didn't matter what grade.
She helped me with my homework too. We spent hours
on the computer trying to type up her papers.
And the kids witnessed that, so they
Mikal and all them, they want to take turns on who's going to come over and do homework at Stephanie's.
So they would see like my determination of to.
And now we don't get any of this. None of it.
Yeah.
And it's just supposed to be okay. You're just supposed to move on in life like none of it ever existed. Therapy ain't gonna help you through this shit. I'm sorry.
It don't.
It's not.
They can't.
You can talk about it like we are right now. Talking about it, right? I'm getting it out. I'm getting it out. What the fuck has it changed? Nothing. Because that void is still fucking there. The shit is wrong. And they need to change it. They need to change it. And that fight is coming in January of 2020. Don't think we going down, sweetheart. We not. Because I'm going to put up that fight. We going to put up that fight. I guarantee it. And if you don't want to be involved, take yourself off.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because, like, if you
can't be involved with her, then you can't be involved in the children because it's a conflict of interest.
And I believe, like,
and it was a conflict of interest in the beginning because you judged Juan without even knowing him.
Yeah, and I feel like it was a conflict of interest in the beginning anyways because these are the same social workers
that took all of us.
And
the same judge that took me took them.
Took me.
And he knew what type of people we are.
Yeah, and
he knew we were good people.
He apologized about my brother's death, actually the first court date, and I was already there for my kids, so for him to
and we had just saw him at the 7-Eleven and he was asking how life was doing.
Yeah,
he knew we were great people.
Yeah. And I was like, really good.
But y'all pushed for this adoption and quit working with her.
So for a letter to mysteriously the
change
judge
his mind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because of a man that wanted to be a father. Let's not forget that. Yeah. A man that wanted to be a father. We're criticizing a man that wants to be a father. Who does that?
Yeah.
You got all these fucking bum-ass baby daddies out here that don't even claim their children, and he's willing to take care of all 7. And it's wrong?
Yeah.
You're fucking crazy.
Yeah, when you think you get lucky, you get hurt somewhere.
All the lies that was told to us. Oh, it's gonna be okay. You're doing great.
Yeah.
It's going good.
Yeah.
Everything's on track. And then they fucking stop working with you.
At the last court date, it was the final step. It was the very last court date. Yeah.
And the judge fell asleep in the courtroom during the appeal. Don't think I forgot that.
And my lawyer didn't object to anything.
Didn't object to shit. Even though the whole time my sister's sitting here like this telling him, hey, that's not right. This ain't right. She's not even saying the right shit. Half the shit they fucking said wasn't even true.
But
I know it wasn't.
Anyways,
I know it wasn't. I've been there the whole time. The bitch wasn't even on the case, but they put her on the fucking stand.
How can that even be? Like, and then
you got the nerve to show up at my motherfucking mama's funeral, bitch.
No, Lord, that shit pissed me off too.
You got the nerve to show up at my mama's funeral?
Yeah.
Knowing my mama knew she was a good mama?
Yeah.
Knowing
she begged y'all to give me the kids.
Knowing she begged y'all.
Yeah. And what'd you say to me? You sleep well at night knowing where my kids are?
Sleep well at night. Well, you
got upset with me because I told you could never know what I feel like because your husband died. You didn't have everybody in your entire life died, and you took that offensively. And I do apologize because I don't know what you're going to go through because my spouse is still here, and I pray that he outlives me. Because I can't take any more deaths. So, from the bottom of my heart, Calandra Cook, my sister in God, I do pray and I do hope that you can get over your husband's death. But, us women, we can remarry. It says it in the Bible. So, maybe you should get a spouse, lose some weight, feel great about yourself, and do the damn thing. Put the nasty on Mr. Wrong for a change. I don't know, but it is what it is. Bitch.
That's not a sincere apology, girl. You can't do that.
You want to get your cotton candy sweet as gold on? Shave that tootsie.
Let me see that tootsie roll. But no,
wax that bitch. It's a wildebeest.
But no, seriously, we about to get off here. But honestly, y'all seriously need to know the fuckery that goes on.
Yeah,
Y'all need to see beyond the fucking trees. See beyond the trees and see what's really fucking going on, okay?
beyond the trees is a city.
I spy an eagle.
But I mean,
Is that she?
who even knows what the fuck that means? If anybody knows, see beyond the trees, put that in the fucking
Comments below. We take comments.
Although
But
I
no,
had some
seriously.
rude ones. I mean, to all y'all.
It can be rude. Call her psychotic. But I bet you haven't been in her life.
Yeah.
I bet you couldn't even walk a mile in this girl's shoes.
You can't see
Okay?
trees when there's a fat fucking lawyer in the way.
Oh, my man just said you can't see beyond the trees if there's a big ass lawyer in the way. And you know what? There's a bunch of fucking fat ass social workers right after that lawyer. I know I can't talk because I'm heavy myself, but look, I had 7 young men come out of this goddamn body. You hear me? Tummy tuck. Can Medicaid pay for my goddamn tummy tuck? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If they can pay for crackheads to get off of meth, can you pay where I fucked myself up from eating McDonald's and having babies? Think about it, Medicaid. Think about it. That's all I'm saying. Think about the shit. Because if y'all really want me out there, I'll be up on that stage making that motherfucking money, boy. Yes. And a fucking heartbeat. Legally.
But that's besides the point.
Think about it,
Let's
Medicaid.
get back to this video.
Oh, yeah. Fuck this shit.
We're not about to go crazy.
Social services has been a corrupt system since
forever.
They've been established.
Because let's not forget that up in West Virginia, they took my sister's kids too. Her 2 babies from her domestic violence, and basically adopted them within 6 months behind her fucking back. And it wasn't even her fault they got taken.
Isn't that sad?
It's because her baby daddy's mother had confided in a teacher friend, and the teacher friend decided, I can't keep this a secret that she's being beat by her man. Not that the kids were being beat, she was being beat by her man. Mind you, they had already split up. They were living in 2 separate towns 2 hours away, and they still came and took her children.
Yeah, I did have that conversation.
It's fucking corrupt.
It's fucked up. And I'm gonna be interviewing a few other people too that I grew up along the way to let y'all know what foster care is like for them, because everybody has gone through something while being in the system, and a lot of it could have been avoided if they were just placed in their own biological homes, and if the money that they're using to spend on strangers,
on foster care,
if they could just
people,
if they could just
put it back into the homes, we'd be fine.
Yeah, and
I could have been put with my grandparents. Granted, we might not have met, but still.
Right. Anyway, I also like to say that if your plan is to be in foster care for a long, extended amount of time,
use your resources.
I believe also that foster care should have a safety net for after you age.
They should have a college fund set up for you, which they kind of do. You kind of get free college. They should have money saved up for you to be able to purchase your first apartment and everything like that.
Definitely your first apartment.
They should be able to help you be able to find employment, good employment, and everything like that. Make sure you're situated and stuff like that. And that's if you're going to age out of the foster care system. Don't let these people tell you that there aren't resources in there, and get stuff while you can while it's free, but also be smart about it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. When I was like 17, I started getting $744 a month. I started getting my own foster care check, and I was just paying rent, to be honest with you. So that's what they do. And instead of them discouraging me and telling me all the things that won't practical or what won't reasonable in life, they should have allowed me to follow my dreams and to finish school and to do the things that I wanted to do. And to be a photographer,
but they told you that was not a realistic job.
And it's very
But how many people get paid to be a photographer?
Good money.
How many people in this world are paid to be a photographer? How many magazine companies are there to shoot photos and all this other stuff? And you shot this girl's dream down at 14 years old? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? I kept my dream. I went to the military. I did what I said I was gonna
Well,
do.
when she told me that it wasn't realistic, like my next thing was just to have a bunch of kids because my family was taken from
Because
me
her
at
mom
an
and dad
early
were
age.
gone.
So I mean, like, and I got that, and for a long time, I was actually
Happy.
experiencing heaven on earth, and it was just taken from me too soon. I had
It
about
was robbed from her. She was lied to.
yeah,
It's a conspiracy.
yeah, seriously. And it's fucked up, but it's like all the greats get assassinated. So assassinate me, bitch. Well, anyways, my sister just pointed at the time, so it's been
It's
a
been
while.
almost an hour and 20 minutes, and we don't want to talk your head off, but y'all need to take this seriously. Like, y'all
Yeah.
don't even understand the severity of it. Y'all want to think that she's going crazy. Well, now you hear it from somebody else's point of view and something that I've been through.
Yeah.
You know, besides all the jokes and commentary that we've said throughout it, sometimes we got to lighten the situation. It's not a joke.
Yeah,
It's not a
very
game.
serious.
This is people's lives, okay?
Yeah, and we cry all the time.
All the
for this
time.
shit.
I miss them so bad. I love you guys.
Yeah, I love you.
Always know that, boys. I
Always
love
and forever,
you.
my king.
Always. No matter what we go through, I'm always here for you. And so is mom and dad.
Always. Y'all only got one dad.
One. And he's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night. We don't want to talk your head off, but we out of here.
Out.